Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan Giesing. Welcome to episode 56 of the Dan Giesing podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, whether you're tuning in from Skokie, Illinois, overseas in Austria, or maybe somewhere in between, floating on a raft in the Atlantic Ocean. I had to think about them for a half second, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's an interesting time right now. You know, it's a time of, you know, when I sit down to do the notes about what I want to talk about, it's kind of like grind mode right now. A little bit of grind mode in terms of what's going on, but I want to jump right in and give you guys an update because we're coming off an interview episode. So there's some stuff to talk about. The first thing I want to update everyone on is the update on hiring a couple writers. So essentially what happened was I went through the process all from a tweet. I sent out a tweet, said, hey, I'm looking for someone that's looking to write. And whether for experience or an internship, et cetera, et cetera. Got a bunch of applications, narrowed it down to a couple people that I called on the phone. And really I had in mind to select one person. And two really rose to the top in terms of their writing style. Both were very different, but both were very good. One was a very in-depth, thorough, examinatory style writing, which I was pretty impressed with, and the other was the writing styles I was looking for, which is like succinct, to the point, pull out the most important parts, and write in a very clean and easy to digest format. And so it really came down to I didn't expect to bring both on, but I brought both on, and it's been good so far. You know, there's a little bit of a learning process in terms of, you know, how I operate, and so I think that's been an interesting part. But most importantly, when I talked to both individuals, I wanted to make sure that, you know, there'd be something that I would be able to do for them, and it was, you know, and that was the first thing. So once I had it down to the two people I wanted to at least decide between the two, I wanted to make sure I wouldn't have brought them on if I didn't feel like there was another way I could help them. So it worked out good in that regard. So if you missed out on a podcast in the past, or just want to kind of add something to your bookmarks of stuff to read, if you go to medium.com/@Dan Giesling, which is a little bit different how Medium does it, but they use like an ampersand instead of just /Dan Giesling. But it's good. So there'll be a article posted, I believe, every Monday. And one, you know, it's cool. I'm really, really excited about it. And, you know, my thought process behind it is just to serve things up in as many different formats as humanly possible. Meaning that, you know, the podcast, it's not just on iTunes, it's on YouTube, it's on SoundCloud, it's on Stitcher, it's on Spotify, and I think it's on Google Play now too. I'll have to check with Tyler, the editor, on that one as well, but I'm 99% sure we're on Google as well. Same thing, what if people don't like listening to podcasts, but they want to read about it, you know, and so that's why we brought Medium into the fold. So it's good, and so I'm just, you know, there is no, at some point, you know, I'll give you brass tacks. At some point, there is no like ROI on it. Like, what is the return? The return is that someone that may want to read it now has the option to do that. And so that's my goal, is just to make it as easy as possible for a listener or for someone who likes to read to stay involved or get involved with what we're doing here. So I'm really excited about that. And so that will be continuing on, you know, at least through the winter semester. And then we're going to analyze from there and see if, you know, if the writers want to continue on, or, you know, we'll kind of see what happens from there. With that being said, you know, things have wrapped up on a year of life of Daniel, and this is, I guess, a little bit personal info, but we've heard me talk about the running, you know, how I've ran for 52 straight weeks, and now that's like second nature. So it's like if I don't run, it feels weird. Where before it's like, hey, if it ran, it's like, oh, you know, it's a good bonus. But now it's like if you don't do it, something feels off. So the next step, you know, I haven't really set another year challenge, but just really, I'm trying to simplify like eating, you know, just make it as simple as possible. And I feel like that's kind of another area that I've noticed. Something happened last week, and the only reason I share this with you, because it's not like super granular, super, I don't say super important, but if you've ever felt yourself feeling this way before, I wanted to share it with you so at least you could learn from it and maybe put two and two together like I did after the fact. Anyways, it was a weird last week. It was like in the middle of last week. I just started feeling super skittish, almost like a cat on catnip. And I don't know why. Like I'm pretty standard in how I operate on a day-to-day basis. To eat the same things, there's nothing out of the ordinary. But for whatever reason, the coffee shop that I go to, I think they have a new manager, and so I got a large coffee. I normally get a medium, and I drank the whole thing, and man, it totally like it was like there was too much electricity running through the circuitry, and really just kind of like freaked me out and everything was fine, but I just felt really physically weird. And so I share that with you because maybe you may feel that way at some point. The first thing I'd say is, how much coffee did you intake? So that was kind of like a heads up for me to kind of really focus more on what I'm putting into the system, because it's all runs together, right? If I'm feeling like off or weird because of something that you eat, it's like it affected my productivity for the day for sure. So I just wanted to share that with you. Another thing I've been testing out is there's a new service that I paid for. It's called Linktree. You can go to linktr.ee/Dan Gheesling. It's just a really simple site that now has all the links on it. So it's like the phone number to text me on, Instagram, podcast. So I've instituted that across almost every platform that I'm involved in, except for YouTube, just as an easy, like, it's like when you pull it up on your phone, it just looks good, it runs well. It's just a super clean way to share all the links of all the platforms I'm on. So that's something that, I've instituted, and just keeping an eye on that. And to me, I just liked it when I saw it. I'm like, does this make things easier for someone to stay connected or see what's going on? And 100% it does. And it's almost like a nice uniform way to keep things all together. So that's something that, on a granular execution level that's been put in. Another thing I've been messing around with is the past week I sent out a text message, and you heard me talk about it on the podcast. You can text me at 313-509-1979, 313-509-1979. And there's a way to send a text message to everyone. And I did it, and I didn't like it because I couldn't indicate that I was sending it to everyone. So whenever I send something, it's me, and whenever I respond, it's me. But I just feel like I need to find a way to tag sending a message that I send out to everyone. I think I sent the message like, hey, I hope you're having a good day. Just something simple that I was thinking at the time. But I just want to that's the only thing that I just need to be able to indicate. It's kind of like one of those things where and I don't know, it's not meant to be like, I just want it to be super obvious when I'm doing that. I don't want someone to be like, oh, thinking that I send them an individual text message, which I am, but because the responses are that. So it's kind of a unique thing, and I just always go off gut feel, right? So, we talked before about the Dark Souls crowd control thing where, people put bits to change the game. Like, I wanted to test it, but it felt kind of weird. This is like the similar thing, but on a much, much smaller scale. I really want to send out messages to everyone, but I just need to be able to make sure to send a way to indicate that people understand that that's what it is. But at the end of the day, it's always me on the other end of it. So I think that's the most important thing, as long as, that's clearly communicated. Like, I'll never ever have someone respond for me or anything like that. So it's been cool, and it's been cool to get random texts, and it's been a good way to connect with people and hear what's going on with everyone on a different scale. So that's been going good. In terms of things with YouTube, YouTube's been going really well. We're at a point now where I kind of overstretched things a little bit. I started an Undermine series, and it went pretty well. And I got a DM about it today because I missed an episode, and someone sent me a crying emoji saying, hey, Dan, is the Undermine series over? And I'm going to send it out with a proper finale. But it was cool. I guess I should have indicated that it was going to be like a mini series. But I just kind of left it open-ended just to see how things were going. And it was cool. It was a cool experience and something fresh to the channel. I like doing that every now and then. I just think I just need to set expectations or parameters around it. But I guess at the same time, you never really know how long something's going to go. But other than that, so I really want to continue to dial back in on Tarkov and Mario back on the channel. And it's funny because I changed my mind so much. And I think that typically you may think of that as like a bad thing, but I've always looked at it as a good thing. Because I'm changing my mind, it's because I'm getting information or data or feedback that it's time to make a decision and change things, versus like sticking something and grinding it out if things are telling you otherwise. So I've strayed a little bit away from putting Tarkov on the channel just because I hadn't, like, there's been really nothing new in the game in a couple months. So I haven't had the same sort of, creativity. I just didn't want to put out Tarkov videos to put out Tarkov videos, especially with how everything had been going. We kind of hit a stride with the Tarkov videos and being more creative, and I kind of hit a wall in terms of coming up with new ideas. And so as opposed to just doing a video to do a video, I just I peeled back on those. But Mario's been, has been really, at this point, Mario's been steadily the most viewed series on the channel. And so that's one of the things that's been going really well, and there's a nice correlation between YouTube and Twitch on that. The other thing that was kind of cool in the past week was we did our first interview with someone from not our arena, right? Not from gaming, not from someone that I collaborated with or know from the industry. It was just someone I actually met through a series on YouTube, through our NCAA series. But it was, I feel like his story was so good that it made sense to bring it on. And it was cool to hear everyone's perspective on the Hoodie Allen interview. In case you didn't listen to it, Hoodie Allen's a rapper, but really treats his career how we treat things here, which is kind of like one brick at a time, do the right thing in the long haul, and just try to make the best thing you possibly can. For us, it's a show and videos, and for him, it's the best music possible, and everything else will kind of take care of itself. So that was good, and I think his story really resonated with people because I don't know really anything about the music industry in terms of how it works and how you become successful or establish yourself. But it was cool to hear his story, how he started with a $10 microphone and then grew into, having an international tour and a tour across the United States. And so it was cool. So I'm excited for that. He's coming to Detroit, and, I'll support him at that show, of course. And I'm just super happy for him because he's, with all his success. Outside of that, I said at the earliest of the podcast, we're kind of in like grind mode, just doing 2 videos a day and 3 shows a week plus Unity. And really I'd say a great indicator for me, I don't want to call it happiness, but of feeling settled, is being ahead on the videos. The days where I come into the studio or the office and I'm like have to record videos for the same day, it's a really uneasy feeling for a lot of different reasons. One, the videos will not get the same treatment as going through Zane the editor's thumbnail tagging and doing everything that needs to be done. And it's a better flow when I can stay ahead. And so that's just a matter of discipline. And sometimes you think of discipline as like a really bad word, but it's something I need to, at least if I can record 3 to 4 videos a day, then I'm always ahead of the game. But things come up. But I've noticed I'll be focusing on that in the next couple weeks, is just staying ahead of the game because it's just so important from like a balance standpoint. Another thing that's been going on in the past week that we tried was World of Warcraft Community Night. And my tenets of Community Night, something that's always been so super important to me, is a couple things. One, the barrier of entry for everyone to play the game has to be really low from a couple different standpoints. The first standpoint being from a difficulty level, meaning that you don't have to be an MLG pro to have fun on Community Night. And in the past, we've done Ultima Online, but playing a game like Tarkov, it limits the amount of individuals in the community that can play along, that would like to play along, because Tarkov is a really complex game. Not to say that we wouldn't do a Tarkov Community Night, which, by the way, that happened. It was like unofficial Escape from Tarkov Community Night. It was organized by Brett Anadoluski and Yo Soy, who are 2 moderators in Twitch. And I pulled up the Discord, I believe it was on Saturday, and there were 4 full squads of Tarkov playing in the Discord. I just looked at it, I was like fired up. And whenever I see people playing together in the community, I always try to pop in the Discord and surprise them and, just say hello and see what's going on in the game. But it was really, really cool to see. And it was just like such an organic thing. And I talked to Yo Soy for a minute. He was streaming after, and he said it went really well and people really enjoyed themselves. But so tenets to circle back, tenets of Community Night is that, and I really would prefer it to be a free game to play. And that was kind of the sticking point for World of Warcraft, is that it's $15 a month, but I still wanted to try it. And so we did it this past week, and it went over really well. I think I don't know what my expectations were, but there were a lot of people playing. I want to say somewhere around like 20-ish, maybe 20 plus. And a lot of people were excited to, be a part of that and watch it. And it was fun. And, I think we'll continue to do some more. My thing is, I was very forthright in saying, hey, look, I don't know if this is going to continue to be a thing, but, I'm hoping we can at least get two playthroughs in or 2 community nights in this month, and then kind of reevaluate from there. But it's just the thing that sticks me on Warcraft is that you got to pay to play. Otherwise, you know, I think it would be almost, I don't call it the perfect community game, but definitely pretty darn close to it. And so I was super excited about that. And really another thing, an overarching thing that's been going on with the channel in the past week is, and now we're getting back to our normal Twitch schedule. I had to adjust it by like an hour or two. It's just that giving myself not a day off, but a little permission for leniency. I'm always so hardlining everything like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, because I think it's so important. But there's going to be times and days where, you know, things don't happen, and I'll still try to force and keep it to that. But over the past couple weeks, I've given myself a little bit of elasticity to stretch a little bit, and I think it's been good for a couple reasons. On Twitch, starting a little bit earlier allows a different sect, I don't know if that's right, or a different group of people to tune in. Whether it's overseas, maybe they get a chance to tune a little bit earlier, or locally, you know, they can watch because it's a better time. And I just feel like it's been a good thing, but now it's time to go back to the normal schedule for the most part. But I don't know. It's just been, I think the internal part of it was just been able to give myself permission to say, hey, look, you know, it's okay that, you know, the show schedule was off by an hour for the past 2 weeks. You know, things aren't going to implode. I think it was fair to have it. For me, I had an understanding that things would probably dip a little bit, but I don't know. To me, it makes such a big difference how I look at things long term that like a dip in the short term doesn't matter. It just doesn't. And because I don't really, it's funny. Like I'll use the metrics, you know, what things like people tuning in, so the view count or subscribers, as not a primary thing, but just like hey, are things like okay, meaning that have I done anything drastic to alienate the community or things like that, because things are going to always fluctuate. And so that's not really ever where my focus is on. It's like a tertiary or third or fourth thing where it's like, all right, hey, this is a good thermometer of, hey, are things healthy, are things fine? But my focus is on, hey, what can I do to make the show better, and what ideas can we execute on to test out on the show to see if people like them, and how can we make a game that maybe is on its heels a little bit, like Escape from Tarkov, because there's been no updates. How can we make that a little more engaging in this kind of down cycle of Tarkov time? And I did 2 things just kind of on a whim. The first thing I did was we focused on, and we've always focused on it, but now we're really focused on collecting gold chains in the game. Which is, you know, if you ever wonder why I have like a playoff record in Escape from Tarkov, there's no such thing as a playoffs in Tarkov, but we keep in the community a record of wins and losses. And if we have a above 500 record, we make the playoffs, which we did last season or last wave. And this season, we're down. Like, it's going to be a rough go for us to make the playoffs. But I do that because it's a way to keep things different, a way to keep things fun, and to keep things engaging when the game is like stalled out for content. And another thing we did is I took what was a lot of fun with Mario Maker. We did something called DGDQ, which is a play on Awesome Games Done Quick, which is it's a live stream that happens, you know, quarterly or biannually about speedrunning games. And so we took AGDQ and we turned it to DGDQ, so Dan Games Done Quick, and we do that in Mario Maker. I'm like, well, why don't we just do that in Tarkov too? And so that's another fun like curveball that we can use to make things fun and interesting in Tarkov, just like the Doom runs. You know, we'll play a run of Tarkov and play Doom 1 music and speed up the pace, and same thing with Duke. So it's finding the canvas, and then when the canvas kind of dries up, you got to find new paints and new charcoals and stuff just to throw against the wall until the canvas gets refreshened. And that's the fun part for me, because that's ultimately on me and listening to the community about what they want to see and how to, you know, keep things going. Because I noticed things, you know, we're kind of at a part in Tarkov where it's like, I still love the game, but there just had been nothing new. So you kind of, I don't want to say get worn out of a game, but you're not as excited to play the game. But all of a sudden when you have something like, you know, trying to amass the largest amount of gold chains and then speed running, it becomes a lot more fun on my side of things. And I think also, you know, as a direct result, a lot more fun to watch. So just kind of focus that, but that's my always my primary focus on the show is make sure when people tune in, they're entertained, distracted, having a good time, and having a positive experience. Everything else after that just kind of falls into a line, you know, like people tuning in and you know, subscribing and things like that. And of course, there's things that I'll do from time to time that makes sense to kind of go hand in hand. Things like doing collaborations. Like I feel like we're about to do a collaboration or a live stream with Deadly Slob and Markstrom and you know, just because it's just that time, you know, it's just like a feel and a time thing. So I'm excited to move forward with that. But yeah, no, it's been a good couple weeks and just kind of grinding through it and, you know, getting ready for the fall season and whether you drink pumpkin spice lattes or not. I'm personally, I don't drink pumpkin spice lattes, but the flavoring I'm all about. I'm just excited for the fall season and to kind of see what happens with the channel and everything going into the fall season. One of the other things that stalled out a little bit is the new branding, but I kind of, you know, I've been kickstarting and trying to be the catalyst with the artist and to kind of get things wrapped up hopefully in the next 30 days. So I'm excited about that as well. So a lot of fun things going on, but you know, just another time to continue to put the nose down and listen to the community and continue to make good shows and good videos. But I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to this update podcast. We've had some really interesting mini episodes, you know, and I don't say in the past I've shied away from the Big Brother stuff. That's not true at all. But, you know, there's been a couple Big Brother things that I think have been fun for people to listen to. And to me, it's all bonus. You know, when someone, you know, it's flattering when someone wants to interview you and for any reason. And so to be able to do that and then kind of share that with you as well, it's cool. Because I think it, you know, gives people a little different context of things that have happened in the past. But ultimately, at the same time, I like, you know, focusing on what's going on now and in the future versus reminiscing. But I think, you know, for the right time and right place, I think they did a good job of it. And, you know, Dalton Ross, if you don't know what I'm referring to, the article that Dalton Ross wrote, he did a great job on it. So I was happy to be a part of that. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast. We'll be back next week with another fresh one, Monday, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks for all the support, the messages, the DMs, the texts. And I'm always listening to your feedback and trying to make the podcast, just like the show and the videos, better each time. So I truly appreciate the support. And I will see you guys next week.